What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Profile RDA. Alright guys, so in honor of Mr. Just Right 1, today's random question of the day is, if you were on a boat and besides you had on one side your best friend drowning and on the other side your significant other drowning, who would you save and why? Let me know right down there in the comments box below. I'm going to have to go with my significant other on this one just because of how much crap Joel has been getting about his answer to this question here, but I want to hear from you guys. Would you save your best friend or your significant other? Let me know right down there in the comments box below. So of course this is the Profile RDA from Mr. Just Right 1 and Wotofo, with a big huge shout out and thank you going to Wotofo for allowing me to take a look at one of these devices for the purpose of making this video. This Profile RDA just proves that mesh can be a viable heating element. Personally, I have been a big proponent of mesh heating wire for the longest time. I really love to see more applications of it, but it just never really got the fair chance that it deserves. Joel was definitely thinking outside of the box with this one, and that's something I can really appreciate. So taking a quick look online, this device comes in 6 different color options for you to choose from. You have black on black, stainless steel, gold, rainbow, gunmetal, and blue. Pretty much your standard color configurations nowadays, and it's only going to run you about 30 bucks. That is definitely a steal if you ask me. You also want to check out Wotofo's pre-made mesh cut strips and also pre-made wicks as well for this thing, because they will definitely save you some time in the long run. So links to that will all be on my website. Link to my website will be right down there in the description. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive down to the close-up view and take a better look at this thing. Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got our Profile RDA in its original box, so let's quickly take a look around the packaging, then we'll talk about what's inside. So, first and foremost, lovely display box here. We can see the deck and the cap all in one right from the front. Profile, Wotofo, Mr. Just Right 1, checking in, checking out, same damn time right there. We got Profile on this side. We've got Wotofo, Wotofo.com, Wotofo official, and a color indication that is metal, aka gunmetal. On this side here, we've got Vaping with Mr. Just Right once again, Wotofo. And on the top here we have the barcodes and the scratch and check, as well as another color indication once again. On the back, all of your pertinent information, all the stuff that you're used to seeing, basically what the kit contains, some additional details, of course your warnings and all that kind of stuff, and another little Profile logo right down there. So let's go ahead and take off the box cover real quick, see what we get. First and foremost, we got the cap. There we can see the cap with the lovely acrylic swirl drip tip on top of there. We'll take a closer look at that in just a second. We've got the deck. Yeah, the Profile deck, there it is. And we've got an additional drip tip. Now, I really like this one. It's just a simple little frosted drip tip there. We have our bag of tools. This has the wrench, a few different things here. We've got a screwdriver for the posts. We've got this little coil tool in here, which I'll just break it out real quick. This little thing here for rounding out your mesh, which is really handy. And we also have an Allen key. That's for the squonk pin installation process there. We've got our baggie O parts, and I'm hoping I don't lose anything in here. We have a couple of spare springs in case they break. We've got some spare screws, and we've got some O-rings as well. And we also get this right here. This is some Wotofo pre-cut, pre-made cotton, ready to go, ready to vape, with a little kind of shoelace thing right there. We've got some pre-cut mesh strips. Same ones you get in the tubes, but you get like 2 pieces here, so just a couple to start you off with. We get, well, before we go to the manual, let's show you the last little baggie here. We get a coil. This is just a single little coil here. This is 0.33 ohm. If you want to use that one instead of mesh, there you go. And of course, we have the user manual. So nice little Profile logo on there. Some nice color graphics, how to use the tools. All really well done. Definitely an A+ on that little booklet there, Wotofo. Well done. All right, guys, let's talk about the specs. First of all, it's 24 millimeters in diameter. It's got a deep juice well, superior stainless steel construction, spacious build deck, wide clamp style ceramic support, side secured via Phillips screws, wide terminals for larger builds or leads, single or dual coil configuration, spring-loaded ceramic cotton support, beehive style airflow slots on top cap, detachable structure, 810 wide bore resin drip tip included, and it's got a gold-plated 510 connection. Alright guys, so let's go over some of the finer details of the Profile RDA, starting off with the drip tip up top here. Pretty much your standard swirl acrylic drip tip there. We have a nice wide bore at the top, and of course matching at the bottom. Really no surprises here, short and stout, no O-rings whatsoever, and just to show you that it is in fact 810, we've got a dead rabbit tip, and it fits nicely in place there. No gaps, no nothing like that. Fits pretty much every drip tip that I have. There's an O-ring right on the inside of this top cap section which secures your drip tips nicely into place. Like I said, no problems there. And if we just remove this section right at the top, that is your airflow control. So as you can see, it's got these little steps here. If you want to cut off just one strip of air holes, you can do that, or just left and right adjustments with these big blocker tabs there. This O-ring is a little bit loose, but really not enough to complain about. Here we see the beehive airflow holes right at the top of the cap, which make it very difficult to over squonk this thing, and it's also very, very smooth as well. You can see the profile engraving right there at the front, which is kind of cool. I do like that a lot, and otherwise it's pretty much your standard top cap. It's a little bit on the thicker side, as you can see right here, and hopefully you guys can see on the inside lip of this cap there are some little registration tabs right there, so you line up your cap no problem, and those are definitely handy. So I've already taken the build out of this profile, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You have two slots on either side. You can use it with mesh, just loop it over the top, or if you're doing a regular coil, you just want to drop your legs down in there and secure them in place. But otherwise, you could get really creative with this thing if you wanted to, and there's plenty of room to work with here. So nice deep juice well and nice spacious sides here for your cotton. And this middle piece here is actually ceramic, and it's spring loaded. Hopefully you guys can see that. It is spring loaded. That's actually going to push against your cotton to keep it firmly in place against the mesh, which is really a nifty idea, although the spring on this thing is a little bit on the weaker side, but we'll go over that a little bit more later. You can see the squonk pin going right down the middle there, which delivers that juice directly into that cotton wad if you're using it in mesh mode. And otherwise, we have the Wotofo logo engraved on the bottom there. And on this side here, we have Mr. Just Right's logo, as you can see right there. On this side here, we have the little registration notches for your top cap, and of course, dual O-rings holding that top cap in place. No problem with those whatsoever. And on the bottom here, of course, your typical engravings. You have Profile, Wotofo, Mr. Just Right 1. We have the negative screw right there, and also the 510 pin, which is, of course, gold-plated. But that's all I've got for you guys in this little close-up section, so let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the close-up section of this video. Now let's talk about my personal thoughts about this device, some pros, some cons, and whether or not it's worth purchasing. Starting off with the pros, my first pro is that it's amazing for squonking. This is one of the best squonking RDAs in 2018 in my opinion, and the reason it's so good is because the squonk pin is directly below that big wad of cotton. You just give that bottle a squonk, it fills up with liquid, and then you have a juiced up coil ready to vape. My second pro for this one is the smoothness of the airflow. It feels very smooth and natural feeling when you're vaping on this thing. No whistle whatsoever, and it's very, very quiet as well. That's something I can really appreciate because so many RDAs nowadays just have that little bit of a high-pitched whistle or just kind of that turbulent feeling. This one, I get absolutely none of that. Super duper smooth and very pleasant to vape on. My third pro today is that it's incredibly easy to build. This one took me less than 5 minutes to set up, including wicking time, which is actually really, really impressive because Wotofo just went out of their way to make your life easier with this one here. You have the pre-cut mesh strip coils as well as the pre-cut cotton. You just bend that over the top and secure it into place and just throw your wick through there, trim it and just tuck it, and you're ready to vape. It's just that easy. And my fourth and final pro for this device is more or less a pro for these mesh pre-cut strip coils that Wotofo makes. These things are fantastic. First of all, they're less taxing on your battery because it's just less metal to heat up, and with that, it means longer battery life, not to mention the fact that the ramp up time is almost instant. You tap that fire button and it is off and vaping. Alright guys, so moving on to the cons, my first con is that the cap is on the thicker side. Now, it's really not that big of an issue if you're using the mesh coils because it doesn't really heat up the cap that much. However, if you're using some sort of exotic wire single coil in this thing, it can get a little bit warm, especially if you're chain vaping. So just keep that in mind when you're vaping on this one. I totally see the reasoning behind the thicker cap on this one, kind of to fill out some space a little bit. Plus, not to mention the 22mm conversion caps are available for it if you don't like the 24mm cap. So there's that as well. My second con for this one is that the spring that holds up the block compressing your cotton just isn't springy enough for my liking. Now, I was kind of hoping for a nice beefy spring that was really able to jam that cotton up into that coil, but instead you get this really wimpy, kind of fragile looking spring, and I feel like it's going to be the first thing that breaks on this thing. I'm hoping it doesn't happen, and I hope they kind of beef up the spring in future versions of this thing, but with that, the one that I have right now just really isn't cutting it for me. And my third and final con isn't about the RDA itself, it's about these mesh strip coils. Now, don't get me wrong, I really do like them and they are very useful. However, I feel like they're just a little bit too low resistance. I feel like they could have just thickened them up a little bit or maybe widened them a tad just to kind of add a little bit more resistance. Maybe 0.2 or 0.22 would have been sufficient, but with that 0.18 ohm mesh strip coils, they light up almost instantly. So if you're going to get a dry hit on these things, it's going to be vicious. So at the end of the day, is this device worth purchasing? Would I go out of my way to pick one of these up if I didn't get this one in for review? I'm going to say yes to this one. Yes all around, yes to the mesh strip coils, yes to the wicks, and yes to the Profile RDA. I think it's an amazing system. I think Joel has done an amazing job with this one and continues to innovate in the world of mesh RDAs and maybe even a mesh RTA sometime in the future. But yeah, definitely go out and pick yourself up a Profile RDA. It's only 30 bucks online. You really can't go wrong with that. Of course, links to purchase these products will be on my website. Link to that will be right down there in the description below. But that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Leave your comments down there in the box below and check out the advocacy and my social media links right down there in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, vape on. Please don't be like Joel and drown your wife.